It is not the kind of buff that's going to make him god tier, but it is absolutely the kind of buff that is going to take him off your bench and make him relevant on so many accounts. Guys, this is going to be a video I've been looking forward to filming for over 2 years. That is right, since the very first day I started playing Watcher of Realms at the beginning of August 2023. I saw Zealous and I thought, dang, that guy looks cool as hell. I bet he's awesome. And instantaneously I learned, no, he is not. Zealous was on one of the first rate-up banners ever in the history of Watcher of Realms, and he was a hype because he looks this cool. How bad could he be? The answer was absolutely atrocious, one of the absolute worst units in the game, which was made even more painful because he could not look cooler. I think he has one of the absolute best designs in terms of aesthetic in all of Watcher of Realms. Well, for over 2 years since I first saw him and learned about his dog water kit, I've been looking forward to what I felt would be an inevitable buff. And we've had to wait a while, but that inevitability is now reality. Zealous was just buffed on the Forerunner server, and it is confirmed his buff is coming to global server very soon. Now, before we get ahead of ourselves, I do want to say, the buff does not take him from being a D tier, absolute trash, Garbaggio unit to triple S tier, but it takes him from D tier to minimum B+, maybe A- tier, completely relevant for many accounts. And when it comes to his 3 new roles, which will be solid damage, honestly respectable damage, excellent anti-heal, and very good crowd control, he is going to fulfill them extremely well. Laseer was already the dog water anti-healer of the entire game, and this Zealous buff completely pushes Laseer to epic territory. So before I dive into Zealous, I want to beat a drum I've been beating for like a year. Make Laseer an epic hero. Every single inch of this fool's kit screams epic. He is just mediocre and fine. If he was an epic, this level of mediocrity and anti-healing would be totally okay, but as a legendary, every time anyone pulls him, especially after this Zealous buff, you should feel like Moonton spit in your face. All right, let's get right into it. We have a crazy buff to break down. I cannot wait to show this all to you. Here we go.
Fastidious.
Fastidious.
All right, folks, so you will see me switching between 2 different screens a lot in this video. This is going to be my main account. This is the global server. I'm here in the gallery, and then it doesn't look that different, but when it gets a little more narrow, that's when we're on Behemoth's Forerunner account. A huge shout out to my boy Behemoth. Chris, you're the man. And I'm just going to use these since the buff is already live on Forerunner. I can show you here, and then I can switch back to my main account, the global server, as a reference. So what has been buffed on Zealous? There are 4 major things. We've got his ultimate, we've got his second passive, we've got his A1, which is a lot better now, and you only need 1 dupe for it, right? It's the first awakening. And then the best part, his exclusive artifact. His exclusive artifact, even at base promo, just became 10 times better, and that is huge. He has the oldest exclusive artifact in the entire game. He was the first unit with an exclusive artifact. A little bit of Watcher of Realms history. He was the only exclusive artifact you could get just from normal mythic forging, and now they've turned it into a full exclusive because they introduced the entire idea and system of exclusive artifacts. But back in the day, it was just him, and his artifact was totally pullable just like any other mythic artifact. All right, let's hop in. I do want to quickly comment on one thing coming tomorrow in Watcher of Realms. I'll have a video on this tomorrow, and that is the Tya Market. You guys know I don't like to plug pay-to-win stuff so heavily. However, Moonton is really excited about this, so I told them I would cover it. If you are a pay-to-win player, and only if you are a pay-to-win player, there are some really good deals in here. If you're not a pay-to-win, none of these deals are good enough to make you open your wallet, but if the wallet's already open, these are a lot of the deals you should be targeting, and with my exclusive Tya Market link, you get extra discounts. With my exclusive SmileOne link, you get cheaper W Gold at a discount. The whole thing just is a lot of savings. So if you're a pay-to-win player, look out for that tomorrow. They are saying the Tya Market is now open. That is false. It is September 4th. Tomorrow, on September 5th, it will be open. So after reset, it will be open. I will have tons of details on that. Look out for my link. And also, the real reason a lot of you guys will care, look out for my exclusive Tya Market promo code that I'll be sharing tomorrow, and it will come tomorrow. It's not like me saying, hey, it's tomorrow and it takes me 5 days. I will release that promo code tomorrow. It's a pretty solid one. Let's talk about Zealous. So there are 4 buffs. Let's just go down the line. Ultimate, second passive, A1, and exclusive artifact. We will save the best for last, which is the exclusive artifact, but all 3 buffs are relevant and make him substantially better. Like I said, he is not god tier now, but if you want a good unit that can deal some damage, especially while you're progressing through the game, you want a unit that puts out a lot of slows, enabling crowd control boosts, and you want very reliable anti-heal, as well as some good debuffing, this is your guy. So his ultimate, Running Sticks, he's going to deal some burst damage to a large area ahead, and it was 100% AoE damage in a big burst like that. You can see it in the image, a 5x3 rectangle. It can improve with skill ups. We'll go over that in one moment. And because it's a ground effect kind of damage, it's going to deal half damage to airborne units, but most of the places you'll use him, there are no airborne units, so it really doesn't matter. Afterwards, for the following 10 seconds, every second, he will deal AoE damage over time, starting at 50%. So how do these scale up with skill ups? The old version, it starts at 100%, and then the burst goes up to 120%, and the damage over time starts at 50% a second and goes up to 70% a second. He's going to be a lot more viable now. So if we look over here, we're on the Forerunner server now. The new version, you start at 140% AoE damage burst, and each incremental increase from skill ups is 20%. So the final version is 180% AoE burst damage, and then the damage over time still increases by 10% with each skill up tier. However, it starts at 70%. So instead of dealing at max 70% AoE damage per second for 10 seconds, it's now 90% with skill ups, 70 plus 10 plus 10. Another key thing to think about with this damage, it might feel underwhelming. That's because it still kind of is. However, if you get his exclusive Bangle, his ultimate and the damage over time effect lasts an entire extra 10 seconds. It doubles the duration. And this is very, very relevant for 3 reasons. The first reason you're seeing right here behind me, that is the extra duration of the AoE damage over time. That is good. The second reason will come when we go over his A1. During that entire ult duration, the extra 10 seconds, the 20 seconds total, you are getting slows now. And then you will see with the exclusive artifact, you are getting an incredibly long period of full anti-healing. So it's pretty relevant. You're definitely going to want his exclusive Bangle eventually, so hopefully you get any copy of that early. The damage will be better, and then all the other debuffing and bonus functionality will also be better. The next buff is going to be to his second passive. Let's go back to the global version now. This is what it used to be. All enemies in the ground effect area will receive vulnerability magic damage. So this is an increase to the final magic damage received by any enemy wearing this debuff. So this also actually ties into the ult duration because it's tied to how long the ground effect area damage is going to last. So another reason you really want his exclusive Bangle. And if we look, this is like the saddest vulnerability in the game. It starts at only 10%, which is the lowest starting magic vulnerability value in the entire game pre-skill ups. There are lower values for magic resistance reduction, but obviously that is a different debuff. For this specific one, this is the lowest starting value. And then when it's at max skills, it is the lowest max skilled value because you only get an additional 1% extra magic damage taken by the target per skill up. So when this thing's maxed out, it is 14% magic damage vulnerability. Very underwhelming for a legendary when we've got units like Mari and Aeon, a lot of epics that put out an easy 20% magic damage vulnerability. Post buff, he's getting that. So the new starting value is going to be 15%, a much better place to start. Going from 10% to 15%, that's a 50% increase in the potency of this magic damage vulnerability. And then with each skill up, it goes up 1%, 1%, 1%, 2%. So it can max out at 20% magic damage vulnerability, a much more respectable place to be, especially with how crazy large the AoE range is. And it's all enemies. It's not 5 enemies, it's not 8 enemies, it's not 10 enemies. Every single enemy receives it, so it actually is about as potent, about as powerful as any AoE magic vulnerability effect. We do see higher values, but very rarely that they're hitting every single enemy. So if you're thinking of a piece of content like Gear Aid 1, this is pretty significant because there could be 10, 12, 15, maybe even more than that enemies in that ground effect range. So it's starting at a higher place than the old max value ended up, right? The old max value with Skills was 14%. Now it's starting at 15, and you can get it all the way up to 20. Let's go to the A1 now. Before we do, I gotta mention one other thing, and sorry I missed this earlier. He has a large ground effect that he creates during the ultimate. That's where you get the 5x3, but even with his basic, when he has this smaller range, it's not as small as it looks here. It's like the Comet range when he's at max promotion, which obviously he will be. This basic effect is also putting out a ground effect, so everything else is tied to this that we've discussed so far. The vulnerability is tied to that, and what we're about to discuss with the A1 is also tied to that. So let's go to that A1 now, and you're going to see he's an incredibly good source of slows now. So if we go to the A1 the way it used to be, here's the global server. The ground effect he specifically creates with his basic attack will last for an extra second. So if we go to that basic attack, this is unchanged in the new version as well, but whenever he attacks, he's putting out a 5-second ground effect, dealing 25% AoE damage, fairly underwhelming damage. However, now, as he keeps doing those basic attacks, it will last an extra second. A key thing to think about with Zealous is he cannot be affected by attack speed, so his attack interval is stuck at 5.0 seconds. However, he's putting that effect out for 5 seconds, so it's fine. After the big burst over here, he can do his basic attack and keep it going, so it's solid. But that extra second lasting 6 seconds, who cares? The old version kind of sucked. The new version does not suck. If we go to the A1 in the new version, the first part is the same, but additionally, when this ground effect area deals damage to enemies, they will be inflicted with slow. And that is really, really good. It does not specify that it's the ground effect area created by the basic attack either, so I'm pretty sure all his damage inflicts slow now, since all his damage comes with some residual ground effect area damage. So all of a sudden, he becomes an incredibly viable slow unit. Very, very good for crowd control, making him really relevant for slowing the team down, obviously, but also enabling bonuses that heroes get when it comes to dealing extra damage to crowd-controlled and or slowed units. So if you think of cultist bonuses, if you think of variant effects, this is very, very relevant now. It is a 1 second slow, and it reduces movement speed by 50%, so not the best version at -75, but also not the worst at -25. But the key thing is, his ground effect area damage is dealing damage once every second, so you're refreshing this 1 second slow right when it ends every second. This is actually really good, and I'm sure it will be instantly underrated, but this is going to be super, super relevant. The final thing, the absolute best part of his buff, is the buff to his exclusive artifact, the oldest exclusive artifact in the game, and here we go on the global server on my account. You can see the old version. This has actually been buffed once before. Originally, it was just the second part of this effect. So it was just, during the ultimate, reduces enemies' received healing by 30%. At max promo, 5 extra copies of this exclusive, it went up to 45% reduced healing. So not even a 50% heal reduction, and certainly not a full anti-heal. He's the only unit in the game to have a partial anti-heal, which fricking sucks. It made him a laughingstock. They did buff it several months ago, maybe even longer than that ago, to have increased damage by 15%, but this is static. The only thing that would change is you could increase how much the healing reduction was, but you could never make it 100. It would never be a full anti-heal. You would get it going up by 3% per promotion, so it would eventually go up from 30 to 45. This freaking sucked. The new version is so much better. So let's pull that open now. These exclusive artifacts, when you go to the Forge preview, always present from most recent to oldest. And you can see the most recent, we're going to get Tallulah, we're going to get Yuri, we're going to get Boreas. If we go all the way to the back, we'll see the first one ever, Graveyard Opus. This is Zealous. And the new version is infinitely better. It's like 10 times better. So maybe not infinitely, 10 times, 12 times. I don't know. It's so much better. It went from a joke to very good. So he's going to increase his damage by 15%. This is at base promo. And then during the ultimate, he will inflict anti-healing on affected enemies. Full stop. Not a reduction in healing by X%, a full 100% anti-healing. And the uptime on this is going to be everything. It's going to be nonstop. And remember, he's affecting every enemy in his entire giant AoE range. There's no limit to the targets like you have with Artemis or with Laseer. So this is really good. The final great part is the damage also scales up. Since they couldn't scale up the heal reduction, since it was already maxed out as a full 100% anti-heal, they are going to scale up the damage. So now it becomes a pretty relevant damage increase, but also if you don't want to use him for damage, an effect you can entirely ignore, and you can run this at base promo. So what's it going to be? Shout out to R-Type for sending me the Forerunner patch notes. We don't have this artifact maxed out on Behemoth's account, so I needed these. Effect adjusted. This is the old version we talked about. Damage increase plus 15%. During the ultimate, reduces enemy healing effect by 30% up to 50%. That's not even true. It was up to 45%. But the new version, the damage increase starts at 15%, and with each promo, increases 2%. So at max promo, it's a 25% damage increase, and then the whole time, you are getting that full 100% anti-healing, and you're getting that at base promo too. So all in all, this is truly, truly an amazing buff for Zealous. There's no other way to put it. It is not the kind of buff that's going to make him god tier, but it is absolutely the kind of buff that is going to take him off your bench and make him relevant on so many accounts. I am very excited. This melted candle shouldered dude has looked so cool for so long and has sucked so much ass for so long. Zealous, suck ass no longer. He's pretty good now, and we love that for him. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to Moonton for continually buffing these characters. It is great news every time. If you are new here and you are not yet subscribed to the channel, please do that. I've been Fastidious. Share with your mother, and I'll see you real soon. Bye.
Fastidious.